What game do reindeers play in their house? Stable tennis. Right, final video for the Year 9 Climate Change and Tropical Storms exam is the Tropical Storms questions. There's a 6 marker and a 9 marker in this video. Right, the 6 marker first. This looks scary when you first see this. You've got a whole heap of information given to you and quite a tricky question as well. But let's break it down stage by stage. Figure below shows information about the method of protection from the effects of tropical storms. Okay, we've got 2 countries also listed here. We've got a more developed country and a less developed country. Honestly, when you see figures, the exam board is being nice. They are giving you the figures to talk about. Don't run away from them. These are the figures it wants you to use, and you can make points regarding these. We've also got methods of protection there in little speech bubbles. You don't have to use all of them, but the example's helping you out here. It's telling you to talk about these speech bubbles. Let's have a little look. Only, so only means literally just that one group. Only more developed countries. So just more developed countries can protect themselves effectively. Now, effectively means so it works from the damage caused by tropical storms. So it's just HICs that can reduce the impacts, and it works from the damage of tropical storms. Now, it's a statement. You get the choice of do you agree. Now, essentially, this is a justify question, but the exam board haven't given you the word justify. It means you choose one side, either yes or no, and you argue for that side. So important. You actually tick the box. Make it obvious to the examiner that you're going down yes or no route. I would be going down the yes route. I don't think I've actually animated it for a tick to appear, so make sure you do it. And then the question's telling you give reasons, so you need more than one for your choice using the figure above and your own knowledge. So you need to bring in both here. You need to bring in your case study, whether it be Typhoon Haiyan or Hurricane Irma, and you must be using the figure as well. It's a 6 mark question, which means you have to follow the advice here. You're going to need 2 peels. You are always going to have to use the figure if it provides you a figure. In this case it has, so you will be using it. And you need a case study as well. Should you not use the figure or a case study, you will get a maximum of 2 out of 6 because the examiner will quite simply say it's generic. Right then, it is a tricky question, but we can answer this question. Peel number 1. More money in a more developed country, or HIC, means more investment in defences by government and also businesses, or you could say the individuals if you wanted to. Our evidence here, let's look at the figure. What's the figure giving us? Where a more developed country has $48,000 income per person, whereas the less developed country only has $520. What does this mean? Well, if the government has people who earn more money, they will tax them higher. So the government has more tax. As a result of that, it can invest in methods of protection. E.g., I don't know, we'll take building design as our example. E.g. building design. All we have to do here is give an example building design that you know from tropical storms to make your point. For example, houses can be built on stilts to avoid the effects of a storm surge. And you just simply have to back your point up that this only happens in a more developed country. And the way you do that is look at the less developed country's figures. In a less developed country with only $520 per person made per year, the government has less tax to invest in building safe houses. Or alternatively, the individuals have less money to invest in making their building safer, which means it's more effective, or you could say it's only effective in HICs. Building design is only effective in HICs because people can invest in the building design to make it safe. Those in LICs simply cannot do that. It means that that defence is not effective in an LIC. So your first point there, we've used the figures, and also we can use our case study here by simply identifying that richer people, either in Tacloban Island or Florida, depending on which example you're going to use here, can protect themselves. If Hurricane Irma is your example, by all means identify that in Florida the stilt houses were in place, whereas in, I don't know, the Turks and Caicos Islands, that those defences were not in place. So that's point number one. Now, point number two is regarding television access. In a HIC, people have more disposable income and therefore have more access to opportunities to buy luxury goods such as televisions. And we've got the figures there to back it up. We've got 59% more people have televisions in a HIC than an LIC. What does this mean? Well, it means that if you have a television, the early warning system, aka satellite system, that will be put in place only by a HIC government because they can afford it, can actually reach the people. People in HICs often get 7 days notice that a hurricane or tropical storm may come and impact them. As a result of that, these people can protect themselves effectively from the damage by evacuating. They can leave the area, that's your social impact being reduced, but in addition, with 7 days notice, you can board up windows, you can put garden furniture in the swimming pool, you can move electrical appliances upstairs, so if there is a storm surge, those items are not damaged and ruined. All of this shows that in a HIC, with a proper warning system in place, you can reduce the damage. In an LIC, you will not get 7 days notice because they simply don't have that satellite system in place. People may get a day's notice, if that. And in addition, even people who could potentially get this warning won't get it because they don't have televisions at home to access the news. Therefore, the message reaches them slower. Therefore, they are going to be less effective at protecting themselves / reducing damage. See what we've done there? We've used the figure and we've been specific throughout. You apply your case study in there. Typhoon Haiyan's a great example of this, where the US government had to help the Philippines because they had that warning system in place. If you wanted to go down the no route here and say no, LICs can protect themselves effectively, you can say that HICs would warn LICs of the impending danger, but obviously the warning isn't going to be as fast if it was the HIC itself that's going to be impacted. Tricky 6 marker, come and see us down in HA if you want me to go through any part of that. Right, the 9 marker, I would advise you to do these first in the exam because this is a tricky one as well. The example's being nice here, it's reminding you in a 9 marker to use a named example. If you're doing the exam in 2019, I believe your example is Typhoon Haiyan. If you're doing it in 2020, it may well be Hurricane Irma, and then 2021 exam year will be back to Typhoon Haiyan. So use a named example, evaluate, which means weigh it up. Is it big? Is it small? Is it long term? Is it short term? Is it serious? Is it not serious? You've got to make a judgment here. So you're judging if the immediate, so things happen straight away, and long term responses, keyword responses, what people do as a result of the tropical storm, how they try to reduce the impact, how they manage the effects of tropical storms. If you don't highlight the key question here, or keywords question, you will talk about Haiti and New Zealand here, your earthquake examples. So it is crucial that you highlight the key terms of the question. It's a 9 marker, there's your structure, the coat hanger approach. Every time you see a 9 marker, this is the way you're going to answer the question. You're going to introduce and answer the question, 2 Peelies, a point with some evidence to back it up, explanation, what on earth are you talking about with your point, use the so what rule there obviously, link back to the question, and because it's a 9 marker, the magic E there is to evaluate. Can you critique your point? Show the examiner you're making some balancing points. And obviously it's a 9 marker, so you must be specific, use a case study, and if there is a figure, use it. In this example, there is not. If you do not use a case study, you'll get a maximum of 3 marks. Right then, your 2 introductions at the top in black text are your go-to, your easy ones. The immediate and long-term responses were successful. You've answered the question. The immediate and long-term responses were unsuccessful. You've answered the question. What I want to see you doing, though, is the Mabel introduction to try and answer the question, but show some balance as well. The long-term responses were largely successful, however, there were more failings with the immediate responses. What that does is show the examiner you can weigh this up. You are evaluating here whilst also answering the question. Why are these good introductions? Because they answer the question and they show judgment. This is what your introductions must do on every 9 marker. Right, then let's get into these Peelies then. What are we going to be writing about regarding Typhoon Haiyan? Point. So an immediate response that was mainly successful, again you're showing that judgment, was the evacuation of people. Okay, then what evidence we got for this? Well, it was accurately predicted by the US government. 800,000 people were successfully evacuated from Tacloban Island. Amazing news. 800,000 people were successfully evacuated. That therefore backs your point up that it was successful. Explain, the Philippine government acted to reverse the Pan-Philippine Highway. Great specific there. What that did is it allowed 3 more lanes of traffic to escape the island, meaning residents escaped from the danger faster. This shows that the response was socially successful as it saved lives. Look at that peel there. There isn't a great deal of text there. You're all capable of writing this, but what you've got to make sure you do, and it is on you, is to make sure you know the specifics here. However, look, we've got an evaluation here as well. 6,500 people died, so it was not universally successful. If no people died, you would say that this response is 100% successful, and you wouldn't evaluate it. But we've picked this case study for a reason. There are problems with it. Here's your point, here's what we're going for. Some people ignore the advice. Residents often experience typhoons and thought, well, we can live this out, it's going to be fine. The 5-metre storm surge was bigger than what people in Tacloban Island, Philippines were used to, and as a result, residents drowned. In addition, the additional evaluation there, the government evacuated people to buildings that then actually collapsed, so it was unsuccessful because the storm surge still killed people. Now don't get me wrong, I would stick by immediate response was mainly successful. 800,000 people were successfully evacuated, only 6,500 people died. It's that balance that we're showing the examiner. Right, the second peel. Unsurprisingly, we are going to talk about our long-term responses here. We did immediate first, now let's look at long-term responses. Such as microloans were successful in assisting farmers. Look, there's no in between here. If you know the evidence, you know your facts here. This is an easy point. $3,000 loans were given by the Philippine government and international aid organisations to rice farmers. So that is us telling the examiner, look, this is what the long-term response was. Let's answer the question. The small loans made that rice could still be grown because obviously their crops are all going to be destroyed during Typhoon Haiyan. This means less people were affected by malnutrition in the Philippines. In addition, the farmers will still pay tax on their exports, which means that more money is available to spend on repairs. So that's us telling the examiner this is what the long-term response was trying to achieve. Does it work? Well, yes, socially and economically, the long-term responses were successful. You had less people dying of malnutrition, and we've got the fact that tax is being paid. Our evaluation, though, this is a really key evaluation point. The economy grew 1% slower in the year after Typhoon Haiyan, which shows it wasn't 100% successful, as the country was still worse off. If these $3,000 loans had meant that the economy grew at the same rate as the year before in the Philippines, and people had the same amount of money as the year before in the Philippines, then you could say it was 100% successful. However, it was not 100% successful. They were worse off the year after the storm. Conclude then, let's make our point clear to the examiner, let's make our judgment clear. We're going to make a judgment. Overall, I think the long-term responses were more successful than the short-term responses. It's a clear judgment. You have made a judgment for the examiner. The long-term was better than the short-term. Okay? Why? There's a little figure, again, to back it up. 6,500 people died. The short-term could have been more effective. So there you go, that's the Year 9 test done. Come and see us down in HA if you're not sure about anything covered in this video. I will be happy to talk you through it.